Is this happening to you? Don't worry, I've got ya. How's it going, pigs? Lord of all Swine here, and today we are looking at our options against Bravery Counter. First though, we need to understand how this mechanic works. Bravery Counter is a very strong defensive mechanic that has very few downsides. If you aren't using this move, make sure that you start using it ASAP. It's very strong and it can increase how well you do by a lot. This is tied to your bravery points, which both you and your opponent start the round off with 3. Each time a bravery counter is used, it will cost you 1 stock. The only way you can return a stock is by performing a skybound art. You will get 1 point back, even if the super whiffs, so bear that in mind. So you come across these opponents that will brave counter a lot, and sometimes it's really hard to know when it's coming. It can be very frustrating when the opponent keeps using it, as it puts you at a disadvantaged state. So we need to contextualize the situation. They can only perform this 3 times, so you can be patient and just let them burn themselves out. Then apply the pressure without worrying so much after they are gone. Also, they get a debuff when they have 1 bravery point left. They take an extra 20% of damage, and if they spend all of their points and end up with 0, they will take a whopping 50% extra damage, and this can be further indicated by the flashing red icon of their character art. It should also be noted that they will no longer be able to perform raging strikes as well, so at this stage their offense also gets worse. Side note, I want to add this: when someone has used all their bravery points, they will also not be able to defend against a raging strike from you with a bravery counter of their own. This is really good at the lower ranks of play. However, when you climb the ladder, be aware a good opponent will be waiting for you to try this. They can still evade and punish you. It is really good in this situation to make sure you don't get too obvious. If you think they might try evade, stagger, and then go for a tick throw. Or do the full triple attack, but go for the low ender by pressing forward and medium. If they're going to try evade, they will not be able to do it while crouching. So if they try and evade you, you will be able to catch their feet for trying this. Okay, so what are some of the options to beat this mechanic? In most fighting games, a mechanic like this would be baited, blocked and punished, but that isn't how it is in Granblue. This move, even if blocked, is advantageous to the opponent, leaving them +6 at best. This is one reason why the move is so good. On top of this, the move is very hard to bait and block anyway, as the timing is so varied. So to understand what we need to do, we need to understand what kind of opponent we're up against. So, it should be noted that if you get counter hit by bravery counter, you will flash red and end up in a hard knockdown state. You can air tech out of one that isn't a counter hit. All I can say about this is that if the opponent is counter hitting you, they are most likely timing the move much better so that they can counter hit you in the first place. This is really hard to deal with, so if they're doing this move, the best option is to not commit to a full string like a special move for example. And because bravery counter is tied to the raging strike button, staggering your plus moves like close L, far L and 6-6L leave big gaps in your pressure. These gaps are big enough to have them trigger a raging strike, which you will then counter hit because the startup is 28 frames. Bear in mind though that the opponent can call you out with an invincible move. You should block every once in a while if you think they will do this. However, on the flip side, if you have an opponent who is not thinking about it too much and just burning through all their stocks, you'll be able to take advantage of this. You can tell they're doing this by how often they use it on defense, and unless you are unlucky, most of the time you will air tech after you have been hit by the brave counter. Now if the opponent is doing this, it becomes slightly easier to deal with. You can prioritize evading at the start of your string, and by evading their counter will whiff, leaving you +2 at best. You can't punish them for doing this, but you are now plus, so you can either go up and throw or start your own pressure. This is the best way to deal with this style of opponent who is just being overly reckless with their brave counter. But of course you don't want to get too obvious with this. If you just keep evading in their face, they'll eventually catch on and just run up and throw you and punish you for doing it. So obviously use this sparingly, but this is an option you can do. Say if you think you're going to do it, they're at the end of their health bar, they're panicking, they're more likely to do it then, for example. Okay, bonus tip. Another point I wanted to add on, as I remember this while making the video. When an opponent hits you with a raging strike, it can be very tempting to brave counter back. But if you're not going to die, it might be worth just holding back, because getting hit by a raging strike costs you a point, and then using your own bravery counter will cost you another point, putting you down to 1, which means you're now in the 20% health debuff. If you think they will Raging Strike, use the evade or just take the damage if you have a full amount of health, for example. Sometimes a good opponent won't even follow up with a Raging Strike so they can save the meter. The whole reason they're doing it is to get you to waste a bravery point, so it won't kill you just to take the hit. That covers this guide. In conclusion, this mechanic is very frustrating and most of the time you'll just have to hold it, but remember to stay patient, don't lose your cool. If you're put back to neutral, just block, work your way back in. A calm mind will always make better decisions anyway. And as and when the situation demands it, use some of these techniques to punish your opponents who are being too obvious. Firstly, if you made it this far in the video, I would like to thank you, and if you found it helpful, please consider liking the video as it will help others be able to see it as well. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already, so you don't miss future content. I aim to get as many guides out as I possibly can, so expect more in the future on top of the ranked matches. Until next time, take care, swines.